Okay, welcome to the Junkyard. Tonight we have Jon McCabe. He is running for state representative for the 54th District for House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. Jon, why don't you give us some information about yourself and your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm running for the 54th District State House of Representatives, which encompasses Murraysville, Lower Borough, Upper Borough, Allegheny Township, one precinct in Harrison, one precinct in Penn Township. Then it actually swings over into Allegheny County with Fawn and Westier as well. I'm a young guy running, 22 years old, but I feel like we could use some fresh voices and some fresh perspective in our system right now. On my platform, I'm advocating for, affordable and accessible healthcare. I want to make sure we have good union representation, making sure that their collective bargaining power is there, and that we're preventing PA from becoming a right-to-work state. I'm for making sure our public education and our higher education is quality and accessible to all students in Pennsylvania, and also making sure that we have apprenticeship and vocational opportunities to students as well, because not every student is geared towards college, and nor should they be. Just a little bit about myself. I come from a working class family in Lower Borough. Lived in Lower Borough my whole entire life. I was able to attend college because I got a scholarship called the Horatio Alger Scholarship. And so with that scholarship, I went to Penn State, New Kensington, and I did a lot of political activism there. I started a political science organization with another student, Millie Bratzer. We co-founded this organization called My Vote Matters. And what My Vote Matters did was we registered students to vote, and we also brought local legislators to campus to talk with their student constituents. And this was sort of my first step into the political world, and to also, creating a more vibrant democracy here in PA. We registered over 40% of students on campus in a matter of 2 years, and we're still registering students to this day. I just went back there 2 days ago, and they're going to be doing voter registration every week until October 9th. And then they're still going to do voter registration after that. But October 9th is the last day to register to vote in the November 6th primary, which is coming up. So, like I said, I was only able to go to college through Horatio Alger Scholarship. I come from a working class family. My family struggled a lot, when I was going through college and high school. I had to work several jobs just to make it by, just to afford my books, just to even pick up the tab that was left over after that scholarship, because it didn't pay for everything. So I worked at the New Kensington Sheets for many years. Saw a lot of things down there as well. Saw a lot of the opioid epidemic. They put in the blue light that it was notorious. It was famous around here. But what I tell people is, a blue light, it's not going to solve our problems. We need actual legislation and people who understand addiction in office to craft policy and legislation to get to the root of this issue. And it's a very complex issue, and it's going to require, a lot of addressing on multiple different scales, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, offering alternative pain treatments, and also, criminal justice reform, how we treat individuals, after they're caught with whatever they may be caught with. So, after seeing so much, of the opioid epidemic, seeing my family, and their struggles, I really wanted to see this change. I wanted to see representatives who are there to, serve the public. Because at the end of the day, they are a public servant. They're there to represent their constituents and the common good and to advocate for, the better of their communities. And, we see a lot these days that our politicians and leaders, they're beholden to the lobbyists that may pay for their campaigns. And, I really want to go in. I'm not being funded by any corporate PAC money. I'm going in to advocate, like I said, for the people of my district, and that's what I intend to do. So, yeah.
Oh, you mentioned right to work, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit because it's actually a kind of a sore spot for me because of the way things are worded there. When you hear right to work, it sounds like it's beneficial for workers. It sounds like, you have a right to work here. But why don't we talk a little bit more about that? Tell me what that actually means, what it boils down to for the average worker in Pennsylvania.
So basically, like I said, I'm opposing PA from becoming a right-to-work state. Because when PA becomes a right-to-work state, we actually see lower wages and less benefits for our workers. This is something that not only affects union workers, it affects non-union workers. So what I tell people when I go talk about right to work is right to work pretty much means right to work for less. Now, and right to work is wrong. It takes away power from our unions, and it takes away from their collective bargaining power. So, yeah, I'm very much for making sure that we are strengthening our unions rather than taking away and chipping away their power, which we've seen a lot over the past couple years, or many years actually. What I always tell people is when union membership is highest, that's when we see the lowest amount of inequality. And over the past couple of years, we've seen rising inequality and lower union memberships. So like I said, I'm for strengthening unions, making sure that they have the power to collectively bargain. And when a state becomes right to work, this takes away their collective bargaining power.
So what are your thoughts on education in the state right now? I know Betsy DeVos obviously has come out in the past and said that she's more for charter schools, things of that nature. Seems like the federal government wants to push everyone more toward private schooling versus public. And I know New Kensington especially, we've had a public school system that was wonderful 50 years ago, was a good 20 years ago when I was in it, and seems to be struggling with funding and resources for the children now. So I'd like to hear your take on that and maybe some fixes if you have any ideas in mind.
Yeah, so when it comes to charter schools, as you mentioned, charter schools actually take money away from public schools. They are given money that should be going towards public schools, but instead they're being funneled to the charter schools. And I'm all for making sure that we have quality public education for all of our students. We've seen a lot of funding being taken away from our public schools. So what I intend to do is reverse those funding cuts and ensure that PA has quality education. And not only that, but making sure that we have equitable funding for our schools, because we see a lot of school districts who have a lot of opportunities and resources available for their students, but other school districts do not have that. So making sure that PA becomes a state that has equitable funding to all of our schools, and making sure that we have opportunities laid out for students, whether that be collegiate track or whether that be apprenticeship and vocational training. These are things that I feel like would definitely help benefit our schooling systems. And when I talk to students as well, a lot of students want to see more mental health resources available on their campuses. They feel like this helps create a safer environment for them. And, mental health is not something that's being addressed a lot. And as a psychology major, I want to make sure that the well-being of our students is being taken care of. So when it comes to, funding schools, I'm all for it. I think education has a trickle-down effect on society. When we invest in our education, we are investing into our communities. We are, driving our innovation. We are, growing as a society when we are investing in our education.
What do you think of the state of special needs education, special education is what we used to call it when I was in school, and the effects of No Child Left Behind on our public schools? Just as an example, my son's 8 years old. He's autistic, and our district was not able to provide resources for him in district. We ended up having to put him in a school in Leechburg. What are your thoughts on how the funding is impacting that, and what we can do to improve that, maybe help bring those kids back in-house?
Yeah, I think exactly what you said, just making sure that we have opportunities available for the students to attend public schools. Honestly, this is something that I haven't issued a public statement on yet, so I'd love to get back to you on a better position about this. But like I said, as long as we're investing to our public schools to make sure there's opportunities available for our students, and not only opportunities, but even extracurricular activities, making sure that when students are done with school for the day, that they have something that they can invest their time and energy into. Because a lot of students, they don't have that. They get out of school and then they go back onto the streets and they learn bad habits and behaviors that could have been prevented if they were investing their time into, maybe a drama club or maybe after school band or a sport or anything of that nature. So like I said, I'm sorry I don't have a position laid out on that, but like I said, when it comes down to it, making sure that we're reversing these funding cuts that are happening to our public education.
Yeah, that one was definitely a curveball. I'm going to hit you with a hard one right now. So, and this is going to be kind of hard for
great.
you as a young Democrat. It's a midterm election.
Absolutely.
And I know when I was younger, when I was your age, back when we rode our dinosaurs to school, being a young Democrat, you would see a midterm election and you would think, it's only a midterm. I don't need to vote. You know, decisions are going to be made. The incumbent's going to win. It's not going to matter. It's not as important as a presidential election. So with you being a young Democrat, being 22, probably having had those thoughts at some point in the past, whether you'll admit it or not, how would you address those people? How would you address those voters?
I would say this. I would say at the state level, which is going to be a lot of positions that we're going, or a lot of positions that we're going to be voting for in this midterm election, they impact your life a lot more than you think. And we need to be voting in every single election. Your school board has more control over your property taxes than, your president does. So these positions matter, and they matter dearly. And we need to make sure that people are paying attention. And when I talk to young voters, I usually try to figure out what issue they are passionate about, whether that be healthcare, whether that be student debt, or whether that be, medicinal or recreational marijuana. There's always an issue that I can find common ground with them and say, hey, if you want to see change, if you want to see, fresh voices in our system, you have to vote in every election, especially these midterm elections. Your state representative, they can vote on your behalf. And when you are apathetic towards these elections, we end up with representatives who don't represent you. The millennial voting bloc has reached a point right now where it matches the baby boomer voting bloc. There are 69 million millennials eligible to vote, and there are 69 million baby boomers eligible to vote. So we cannot waste that power right there. I'm all for trying to get the youth out to vote. I think Pennsylvania has been doing a phenomenal job of voter registration, and since the Parkland incident, we have seen the highest amount of youth voter registration at a whopping 16%. That is the highest in the nation since the Parkland incident. The second state is Rhode Island at 11%. So if we can keep that momentum alive, getting people registered, and not only getting them registered, but getting them to the polls. And like I said, I think that just comes from having a conversation and telling them, hey, this is someone who's going to be affecting your life, and they're going to be voting on an issue that you're passionate about. And all it takes is just one conversation to figure out that issue. But usually, after that conversation, I can find many issues that they're going to be passionate about. So, I just tell them, go to the polls on November 6th, make sure you're registered. It takes, it's so quick and it's so powerful of a thing to do. So, yeah. Well, I'm really hoping to see that youth voter rise in this midterm election. I think a lot more people are paying attention now. So, I really want to just reach out to young people again. Throughout this whole process, I've gotten a lot of positive reception from my youth. People are not turning away from it. People are embracing it. They think it is time for that baton to be handed off to the next generation of leaders. And, if you're going to run for office, just do it. There are people out there that are going to support you. There are people out there that are behind your back. All it takes is you just got to go to an event. It might be uncomfortable at first, but you will find people that will support you and will get behind your message, because we need this more than ever. We need people stepping up to run for office, and we need people to be informed and engaged. And that's exactly what Scott Wagner's worst nightmare is what I say, because he thinks that we're young and naive. But really, we're becoming informed and engaged. So, I just want to encourage everyone who's listening to this video that if you're young and you're thinking about running for office, just do it. And even if you're old and thinking about running for office, just do it. We need fresh voices in our system. For the past 30 years, we have not seen people, properly representing us. We have a few people in there that are, but we need more people that are going to be listening to the will of their constituents and voting in the interest of the working class and helping to rebuild the middle class. And ultimately, we need to bring back the promise of the American dream. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring back that promise, making sure that we have opportunities available and that everybody can live a happy and optimal life which they can thrive in. So that's all I have to say when it comes to, reaching out to the younger people. Just do it. You won't regret it. This whole experience for me has been phenomenal so far. I've met so many amazing and tremendous people that want to see the positive change that I'm advocating for. And you're not alone. There's always people that are going to join you, and we need strength in numbers to change this democracy. That's exactly what our unions tell us. Strength comes in numbers. And when it comes to fixing our democracy, that's exactly what we need. We need an army of citizens to help change our democracy. And also, if they want to help join our army of citizens, they can go to McCabeforPA.com. They can follow us on social media at McCabeforPA. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And just drop a message. We'd love to hear you. We'd love to hear your point of view, because we're here to represent you at the end of the day. And I'd love for some people to come on and help. There's definitely always room to join the Jon McCabe band. So yeah.
Yeah, Wagner thinks I'm still young and naive. So.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Frank. I really appreciate the interview.
No, hey, I appreciate having the chance to talk to you, John. It was awesome. Do you have any social accounts you want people to follow you on? Do young people still do Facebook?
Yeah, like this. Absolutely. I think it seems like we're getting a lot more older people on Facebook too, which is awesome, because Facebook's a great tool to communicate, with other people that have the same interests, and to meet up and talk about events that are happening. This weekend we're going to be canvassing West Deer. If people want to join, they can meet up at the Starbucks in West Deer. I'm not sure of the exact address, but if they go onto the Facebook page, they'll be able to get all the details of the event. Just type in McCabe for PA or Jon McCabe for PA House 54. It should pop up. And there's links on our website to all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and the like. They can sign up for our mailer for additional opportunities to help as well. On the 27th at the Quality Inn on Trenton Bridge Road, 300 Trenton Bridge Road, we're going to be having a big fundraiser. We're trying to get a lot of people to turn out. And, if young people want to come by and stop down, we'd love to just have their support, even if they can't donate. So, yeah, thank you so much, Frank. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, Jon McCabe, for coming on. And again, you're the candidate for the 54th Legislative District for the Pennsylvania House of Representatives.